To talk more now about how our manufacturers in general are faring, I'm joined by Catherine Beard, Business New Zealand's Executive Director for Manufacturing, Peter Busfield, Executive Director of New Zealand Marine Industry, and in Wellington, Bill Newson, President of the Engineers, Manufacturers and Printers Union. Thank you all for coming in this morning. Bill, if I can begin with you, Stephen Joyce, do you feel sees a future for low-cost manufacturing here?
Well, I didn't get much confidence out of that interview with him, if he does. Can I say this? These closures that you listed in your introduction over the last couple of weeks, they're just the latest of an escalating trend of redundancies that have run right through this year. And although there are a variety of reasons, some of them out of our control, the common denominator that runs right through all of those decisions of those redundancies and the decision making about those redundancies is the exchange rate, both the peak and the volatility of the exchange rate. And he didn't give me much confidence that they're prepared to look at that seriously.
All right, we'll touch on that exchange rate shortly. Catherine Beard, if I could bring you in here. You've been looking at this issue. How do you respond to what Bill has just said?
Well, look, I think the last example, the Circa boat building company, is exactly the sort of manufacturing that we need to be aiming for in New Zealand. You know, if we're trying to compete on price, that's going to be very, very challenging in global markets. We're not a low-cost manufacturing country. You know, we do have, you know, these are quite high-value jobs. And so you really have to remove yourself from the tyranny of competing on price, because that's just a race to the bottom.
We should just call an end to low-cost manufacturing, you think?
Well, we should be aiming to move all of that up the value chain, so we should be investing in R&D. Doesn't mean close the business down, it means transition into a place where you have really good competitive advantage.
Peter Busfield, your industry, in a way, the marine industry, has benefited, hasn't it, by a level of government intervention in a way, in that, you know, the America's Cup was here and backed by the government. Team New Zealand has been backed by the government. How has that helped your industry?
It's helped tremendously. The international events around the New Zealand marine industry have put us on the international stage, including the Olympic Games. The sailors doing well there, the Volvo Ocean Race, the America's Cup, and seminars and events that our association runs ourselves keeps a focus on the New Zealand marine industry.
Is the dollar hurting your industry at the moment?
Yes, it is. You know, it's great to see Circa with its exports and its niche market it has there, and certainly we're a high added value product in New Zealand, not competing on low cost. But having said that, there are other countries as well that have got high added value boats, and there's a limit in relationship to how much you can charge a premium. And whenever the exchange rate moves, particularly of recent days with the US up to 83, that'll have a negative effect on our exports.
Okay, if I could bring you in, Bill Newson again. What's your position? You touched on it before. What's your position on the New Zealand dollar at the moment?
Well, we don't pretend to have an answer on that. We talk to a lot of people who seem to have interesting ideas and suggestions. We'd like to see some dialogue happening about it, some serious dialogue, taking into account all of the different views. You know, we look across at our trading partners, and we do see some of those economies influencing at least their currency. China, obviously, but even the United States. And in countries that don't, Canada, Australia. Well, we've seen in Australia directly with North Skoog that they will put you know, government support directly into those companies. Now, we're not saying that we should do exactly the same. We've got to have a Kiwi vision for manufacturing, and we've got to have Kiwi solutions, but we should at least be talking about it and talking about what a strategy can be towards that end.
Okay, Winston Peters is talking about it. He's suggesting, Bill, bringing in this an amendment bill for the Reserve Bank Act. Do you think perhaps the Reserve Bank needs to broaden, if you like, its objectives beyond just inflation? Absolutely.
And can I say, in being a union official, I talk to employers a lot. I talk to employers every day, and so do my staff. And there's a very common kind of narrative coming through from employers, not all employers, but from many employers, that they think the government's taken their eye off the ball, and they'd like to see them looking positively at a strategy for manufacturing and for the future of manufacturing. It's not just about the exchange rate. We would like to see the Reserve Bank Act opened out in the way that Winston talks about. But there are many other measures that can be put in place in terms of a joined-up strategy for manufacturing and for high-value manufacturing jobs.
Okay, Catherine Beard, what do you make of this in terms of the high dollar? It does hurt exporters. What do you think the Reserve Bank should be doing?
Well, look, it is challenging, there's no question about that, and in the Performance Manufacturing Index that we put out every month, and when the companies talk about the challenges, demand is one big challenge, and global demand, and that's just, I think, a factor of the flow on from the global financial crisis and all those challenges, but exchange rate's definitely one that gets mentioned.
Okay.
I think our view is really that the difficulty with the exchange rate, when you're a small country like New Zealand, very hard to influence where you stack up in terms of how that gets valued, and really the strength of the New Zealand dollar has a lot to do with actually the fact that America's in quite a bit of trouble, and so is the European Union. So it's more about them doing different things than anything that's fundamentally changed in New Zealand.
So that means, I guess, in theory, you accept that there will be job losses because of the strength of that dollar.
Well, our hope, as I've said, would be that companies can actually, manage the things that they can manage, and that's managing their risk by moving up that value chain, by increasing productivity, by thinking, well, actually, if we could be competitive even higher up when that exchange rate moves, imagine how good that's going to be when it moves down again.
Okay, so the dollar's one issue. Peter, the issue of skills is quite another. How do you take, for example, those people that have lost their jobs? You've got 100 people in Kokoda who have lost their jobs. How do you turn them into boat builders?
Yeah, well, that's a big question. All I can really comment on is the marine industry, where we've got expertise. And one thing we have got in this country, we've got one of the best apprenticeship programs worldwide. And that goes across house building, bricklaying, hairdressing, and certainly boat building. And I know with the boat building through the New Zealand Marine Industry Training Organisation, we've got what's acknowledged as the best apprenticeship system worldwide. And in fact, we license it to several other countries. It is so sought after. So it's important that employers maintain an ethic and a culture of training, and we've got 150 boat builders that employ apprentices. And might I say that they don't get a government incentive. Like most countries, you actually get a payout to take on an apprentice. In New Zealand, we've got a good business culture of taking it on for the end result of more productivity leading to more profitability and trained staff. So we're pretty well off, and it's up to businesses to take what's available through the industry training organisations. Are
you getting the volume of staff through though?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're never going to get an absolute balance to match the staff availability with the current market, but we're pretty happy that that's being maintained. Okay,
Bill Newson, I want to put it to you. Where do you think the future of manufacturing lies for this country?
There's no reason why we can't have a vision for a high-value manufacturing sector. We've got that. We've got the iconic companies such as Fisher & Paykel. We've got concerns there, frankly. But that's an iconic success story in New Zealand manufacturing. We've got companies like Circa, great company. There are other companies like that, but employers need support. Look at training, skill training. Dead right, hit the nail on the head. We've got a great apprenticeship system, but it only works if employers train people. And they need support to that. And what's wrong with subsidising the first year of an apprenticeship with the dole? That's not a cost on the taxpayer. That's an investment in the future.
Catherine,
there's a lot we can do.
Thank you, Bill. Catherine, where do you see the future?
Well, investment in skills is paramount, and that's how partly you move up the productivity chain. So I think we probably could be doing more in that regard. If you compare us to European manufacturers, they have a very strong culture, I think, in some of those German country, Germany, they put a lot into training. And they actually sort of see it as a responsibility to not just train the apprentice that they need, but to train a couple of extra. So,
all right, Peter, your thoughts?
Regarding the training side, I think
the future manufacturing.
The future manufacturing, well, I think it's in the balance at the moment. We've got very skilled businesses in New Zealand that have survived the 1991 crash, and so they're good players. They're adopting lean manufacturing. Of major importance, I think, is the government has come out with a strategy, export strategy for the next 10 years, and this week Auckland Council have done the same, and both of them are in alignment to support business. Okay. And they both agree successful businesses means a successful New Zealand. So we look forward to the implementation of both of those strategies.
All right, appreciate your time this morning, Peter Busfield, Catherine Beard and Bill Newson in Wellington. Thank you all for your time.